with the Morenistas, don't we? We both have treaty obligations to fulfill.
Right.
Okay, we have the U.S. treaty obligations to fulfill on our independence. Okay, we're not just going to abrogate all that. And hence our, speaking of Alcatraz, and our proposal to retrocede public land to the indigenous Californians. They have a treaty obligation too. There was a treaty of peace that ended the state of war between the Zapatistas and the federal government called the Treaty of San Andres San Sage. And they have an obligation. A Morenista I know asked me, well, what have the Zapatistas accomplished, in their 20 plus years of uprising? Really, what have they accomplished? And I've been ruminating that question, and I come up with a question of my own. It's like, what Mexican government has honored the Treaty of San Andres San Sage, has implemented it since it was inked? None of them. Okay. Now we have a new government, a new president who's committed supposedly to reversing all the injustices of the previous one. And not implementing the Treaty of San Andres San Sage is one of those injustices. What is being floated by the CNE is writing that treaty into the Mexican Constitution. If that were done, the United Mexican States would be a plural national republic. It would be. If the Treaty of San Andres San Sage were constitutionalized in Mexico, it would be a plurinational country. That is exactly what we're proposing on this side of the border. The daughter nation of California is to, write the Second Treaty of Fort Laramie into our Constitution. Okay. So we're not just, expressing views between the two parties on the Mexican side. We're offering a concrete example of how to do that. It would be like, and I've floated this proposal before, but the CNE becoming a fundamental branch of the Mexican government. Okay. Like, the Congress and the presidency and the judiciary and so on, you would have another branch. They did this in Venezuela. They added branches of the government. Okay. And the Mexican Constitution can be amended to add the CNE as a branch of the Mexican government charged with relations between its indigenous nations and itself. And we are in the process of proposing the same. To offer a California Indigenous Congress directly model on the CNE. And looking also, we have historical examples to offer on both sides of the border. There is the plurinational state of Bolivia, in which each one of the sovereign nations has a reserved seat in their Chamber of Deputies. And we have the even older example of the co-governance of Palm Springs and Cathedral City with the Aguas Caliente Reservation. Okay, they are co-governed by those city councils and the general council of the Agua Caliente Reservation. So we have examples that are historical examples that are working. Bolivia used to be an economic basket case. Every few years, they'd have to either change the currency or drop 3 zeros from it. People would be walking in German style with wheelbarrows of currency to buy postal stamps and bananas and whatever. And it's not like that anymore. Bolivia is one of the fastest growing economies in South America. And this is a development spurt, the likes of which Bolivia has never seen, and is being done even as they reclaim sovereignty over their water. So the plurinational state is doing great. It's doing greater than Bolivia's ever done. And you go to Palm Springs and you can see how well those examples are working. So, every other mile you're on reservation land. So we've seen it, but it only works, it thrives. And we can do the same. And our mother country, the Mexican Republic, can do the same.
Right. For more folks on exactly how we would thrive even more as a plurinationally governed nation, and how Bolivia has done so, and how it's enriched us, you should really listen to my previous show with Matt, because we did a really great one where he actually described lots of the benefits that enriched Bolivia when they became more of an inclusively governed nation, and how that also benefited us here in the Palm Springs region of California.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm doing is fighting for our recognition as a nation, and encouraging our indigenous nations to do the same, to send their honorary consuls, along the circuit, to gain recognition for themselves.
Right. That's a really great idea. Nation of California, also a really great idea. And what it would do, in my mind, is give us a clean slate, and a much better one, because we have learned from the mistakes of the United States, and we'd be starting out not with only rich white male landowners voting, but with everybody voting, and everybody having a say in what would make us better as a nation. And, we've always been good. We've always had the innovators, the inventors. We've always had the hard workers, Hollywood, Silicon Valley, everything we mentioned in the previous show. California has always been a very rich nation of her own in everything but the official capacity. We've always been a little more liberal than the rest of the country, and they hate us for that. They hate that we want to go our own way in order to be prosperous. They hate that we're already prosperous. We give them beef and produce and lots of money, which sadly goes into military operation, which we don't believe in. And so, I'm sure they probably feel like we're kind of looking down our noses at that, and balking at paying taxes. But we're not balking at paying taxes, we're balking at paying into the war machine. And that is not usually your bailiwick, Matt. I'm sorry. That's usually more of like John's bailiwick, I think, John Pomeroy, and other people. Which way do you want to take this, Matt?
Well, just noting that indeed we are not exactly enamored of a government that is attempting world conquest and is busy selling its people on the idea of that. A government that assumes it owns the world, including us. And we beg to differ with such an assumption. And we have the means to beg to differ rather convincingly. There are only 4 other countries that have a economy larger than we do. Okay, one is the one from which we're emerging, of course. Another is China. And once you subtract the world's 5th largest economy from the U.S. economy, it's no longer the largest. China overtakes it. Then you have the 2 economic powerhouses of Germany and Japan that were defeated in war but thrived in peace. That's why they're numbers 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. And then you have poor UK that slipped behind us, which was predictable for over a century. There was a person by the name of J.A. Hobson who wrote a book called Imperialism, A Study. It was the book that Lenin critiqued when he wrote his Imperialism, the High Stage of Capitalism. He read Hobson's book cover to cover, along with one by Rudolph Hilferding called Finance Capital, which was looking at the emerging form of capitalism at the beginning of the 20th century. And what Hobson wrote was that imperialism's a lost leader for poor old John Bull taxpayer. Okay, it's a loss leader. It's a net loss for British workers. Mm-hmm. And then Lenin, in his book, replies to Hobson that that's absolutely true, but there are certain folks that profit off of British imperialism rather handsomely. Okay, you know, the average Brit, working class Brit, doesn't benefit; it costs them. And that's what's happening to the Yankees. This doesn't benefit them; it costs them dearly, and we don't want to be part of paying that cost anymore. In terms of lives lost, in terms of treasure, we don't want to pony up for that. We didn't sign on for this. We in fact were kind of victims of it when our independence was taken right back away from us. And the secession movement turned out to be a fake independence movement. The second one, not the first one. The first one was authentic, but it also had the motive of levering the return of federalism that had been in the Mexican case that had been taken away by President Lopez de Santa Anna. In the case of our second movement, it was not an independence movement. It was a secession movement with the express purpose of Anschluss with the United States, just like the Texian movement was always that. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. We got annexed by the United States. Now we were saying that was not a good idea. Mm-hmm. It's not a good idea to be annexed by the United States.
I want to mention again Alcatraz on the 8th of October this year, Indigenous Peoples Day. This is where we're going to be honoring and learning a little bit from people that we stole this land from, or I should say from whom we stole this land, since I did go to college. Excuse me for that slip. But this is going to be a really, really fun event. It's going to be a big event. It's going to be on Alcatraz here in San Francisco. And everyone is invited. Please come, everyone, and learn a little bit. Enjoy the day. Bring your kids. It's going to be family friendly. My friends are going to be there. I think a lot of Matt's friends are going to be there. Matt might be there, or he might be in LA. Where are you going to be, Matt?
I'll probably be at the LA one. Okay.
So instead
I encourage people up north, and anybody that can make it to Haiti, Alcatraz.
Yeah, sardonically, it's the same day as Columbus Day. So when you celebrate Columbus Day, what you're saying is, yeah, I'm celebrating the fact that I broke into your home and stole all your goods and then said thank you and goodbye and left. But I'm still here. So when you celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day on the same day, that's something totally different. That's I'm celebrating that you're here and that now you're okay with teaching me a little bit about the culture that was here before us and sharing it with us, because they were not just a hand-to-mouth sort of nation before we came. You know, they were not savages on the land as we tried to brainwash ourselves into believing, so that we could justify the Trail of Tears and the reservations and stealing their children, putting them into missionary schools and making the children look like us and teaching them to pray like us and giving their parents gifts of smallpox infected blankets knowingly. So we are trying to turn over a new leaf here in the budding nation of California. And the budding nation of California is sort of, it's an inevitability. It's only a matter of time, folks, before we actually become a nation. And we have a duty and a responsibility to be a better nation than the United States ever was. Go ahead, Matt.
Absolutely.